What's going on, chess friends? It's Rafi Chattery here, and today I'm playing a live sessions video here on Lead Chess. So I just want to kind of walk you through my thought process in this game. So let's get started. So the game started with actually the moves d4 from white, knight f6 from me, and then c4. I played g6, which is now starting to lead into the King's Indian after bishop g7. So we're waiting for white to play his next move, and then we will see from there where our opponent moves, and based on that, we will determine what sort of structure that we're going to end up playing. So most likely he'll play the move bishop g2. This is a Fianchetto system against the King's Indian, and probably I will play moves like d6, followed by castling on the king side, and then moves like so like right now I think I can go ahead and play the move castles, and then I will play d6 probably next move with c5 or e5 to come next. So if he does that, I might go ahead and drop in the move c5 right away, actually, in this position. Yeah, why not? So just striking back at the center now, challenging the pawn on here on d4. Thinking if I should just capture the d4 pawn here. But then I'm getting his knight to a really good square here, so I don't know if I want to allow that, honestly. Maybe knight b to d7 might be a better move, I think. Let's do that one. So he goes ahead and pushes d5. Just really want to occupy the center as much as he can, so that's his idea here. So we might be playing for some sort of a queenside break here with the move rook b8, a6, and b5. I don't know if we should play the kingside expansion like we typically do in a King's Indian with f5 and g5 and g4, things like that. I'm just not convinced that that kind of a structure makes a lot of sense right now. We can also play knight to e8, knight to c7 to help with the b5 push here by controlling the b5 square. There's also a6 as a possibility. Also with this move knight to e8, we open up the e5 square for our knight to challenge this knight right here. If we can exchange off a pair of knights, I think we would feel a little bit more comfortable in this position and won't be so cramped, because right now this knight definitely is a little bit cramped for sure. So yeah, I had a feeling white would play a move like e4 right away. So now I think we want to go ahead and put this knight here. And that also puts some pressure on c5. And also we open up this diagonal for the bishop right now. Or sorry, c4. And then now we open the bishop for the diagonal on here to put pressure on the knight on c3. And then we're planning on exchanging off a pair of knights as well. And let's go ahead and do that first, because the d7 knight is definitely doesn't have many good squares to go to. He goes ahead and exchanges with us, and then I think after I take back with the bishop, we'll probably play the move f4. We could give a check here and then continue with our plan. We could bring the bishop back. I like the idea of being active and giving this check and then making it our move next turn. So after a6, can I play b5 right away? Can we play that? After a6, b5, a takes b, a takes, c takes b, and then we need to have another supporter of that square on b5. So that's the thing. Well, let's continue anyway. he pushes that now, we might bring our bishop back to g7. Now we're ready to play b5 actually. Now that his knight's not there anymore. He'll probably play something like f5 here actually. I have a feeling that f5 is definitely coming soon. Okay, he didn't play f5, so I wonder if we can maybe play f5 ourselves. Just stop his kingside expansion, but that doesn't really help us because I think it leaves a big hole on the e6 square, so that's one problem. I think we should just continue our normal natural development here with b5. And I think I want to go ahead and do I want to play knight c7 and take back with the knight potentially? Might be an idea. I think he played rook pawn to b6, but then I'm forced to kind of take with the rook. Then there comes bishop d2. Well, that's not possible because rook takes b2 isn't there in that case. Let's get this knight activated a little bit. I kind of like that idea. Because I don't think that pawn on b5 can be protected, honestly. I think it's going to be lost no matter what how we look at it. So now if I take, he can play rook to b3, after which I can play bishop to d7. And I think I will be able to unpin the rook. His other idea is just to take the knight right away. And rook takes, and then play something like rook to a8. Although I do have bishop takes b2 in that position after rook to a8. So right now the b2 pawn is under a lot of pressure. He's a pretty strong player, no doubt. So he chooses to protect the c2, the b2 pawn with queen c2. Now queen b6 comes to mind, putting more pressure on the b2 pawn. And also with bishop a6 as a maybe a potential idea. I mean, we definitely have a weakness here on b2. We have a weakness, so let's go ahead and attack it. If bishop takes b2, bishop takes, there's nothing there. So is there anything with the bishop on c8 that we can do? I don't really see anything particularly. So let's go ahead and continue to develop some of our pieces to good squares. For example, with the queen on b6. So now, yeah, whenever you find a weakness, like a weak point, like we just have right now on b2, you want to go ahead and start attacking that point. But at the same time, really, in order to be able to win a game of chess, oftentimes you have to create what's called a principle of two weaknesses. So now we have a weakness on b2, but we want to be able to create another weakness somewhere as well. So we have two weaknesses to attack, and it's really hard for the opponent to try to defend like both weaknesses at the same time. So for now, we're actually pressuring up on the b2 pawn, but maybe while trying to defend that, he might be, it's possible that we could end up creating another weakness for him, forcing him to make another weakness in his position. It's definitely possible. I wonder if a move like e6 makes sense now. Just kind of opening up some diagonals and stuff like that for our pieces. Although after e6 you can play rook to d1. Sorry guys, I was just I didn't realize that I was actually looking for a seek on chess.com also, and wasn't paying attention to that, just making sure that I'm not in the middle of a game here. Just give me 1 second real quick. Just want to check and make sure that I didn't lose that game and lose a bunch of rating points along with it. Yeah, it looks like it's still good. Anyway, so back to our game. E6, rook d1 is there, of course. That's could be annoying. So where else to put the bishop? Hmm. Kind of like the idea of e6, honestly. There's also bishop a6 followed by rook to b8. I don't want to put the bishop under attack for no apparent reason, actually, so that doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? Maybe we can put the bishop on trying to think of a way to move the bishop with a threat. Let's put it on. This diagonal is a long diagonal, honestly, and it's the only diagonal. Well, this one diagonal is not bad either, so let's keep it on this diagonal for now. And put the rook on b8 as soon as possible. So he wants to push e5. Let's go ahead and start creating some complications now. Now that we have some of our pieces mostly developed, we've got this weakness on b2, let's go ahead and start breaking things up a little bit. Let's take here first. And if we can exchange off these bishops, then I think his king will be a lot more vulnerable here on these diagonals. I see his ideas here. Let's go ahead and take this guy first. Let's go ahead and take here. Do we want to give up the c pawn for this pawn? I guess so, right? Because that pawn can advance to e6 and cause us some real serious issues soon. It's a very strong pawn. I don't think he can hold on to this pawn e6 pawn right now, because I think he has to take on c4 and then the e5 pawn will fall. I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Although queen d6 is an idea, but then I have queen f2, I think. I guess I should take with this guy. He's definitely playing some interesting moves here. Wonder if I can play queen f2 now. He takes, we take this one with check. King g2. I don't have a clue if that was a good move actually or not, but let's just go for it. So now there's the b2 pawn. I'm really scared to take it because he always has this rook b1 idea, pinning my bishop. I do need to try to get my bishop to this diagonal on this diagonal right here, so I can play queen to here check and with some devastation. He's doing a really good job of keeping most of his good big pieces on the light square, so I don't really have any pin and skewer ideas in place right now. Really want to play this move rook to f2, queen to f2 I mean, but it's making this very difficult for me right now to play. I have bishop to d4 as a move actually next move, with queen to b7 coming next after that. Bishop d4 might actually be a really strong move, honestly. Because queen to that cuts off the queen also from being able to protect the square on the e file. It's definitely a move to consider. Also here, I need to, let's see here. So back rank is pretty weak. So I do have to be worried about that. I don't know. Maybe he's calculating rook. Not sure. What is he calculating? Maybe b4 or something, maybe? Maybe he's calculating bishop e3. That looks like a pretty solid move, honestly. Bishop to e3. Oh, he's got a better one. He wants to immediately attack me. But what if I play the check now? I feel like he's in somewhat of a trouble. Now, don't I have rook b4 followed by bishop d4 coming? Or even taking here? Maybe we could play this move first. Yeah, if he's not careful, he will actually run into this. His queen has to somehow go to d3 or something, or else bishop d4 is going to be pretty lethal here in this position. Queen pretty much has to go to d3, or that's like the only square really he can go to. Now check, bishop e3, then I have rook here. But then he can take my bishop, though. That's a problem. Oh, yeah. Takes. I feel like I'm getting something out of this, at least a pawn or something. Like, I think the b2 pawn will fall now. Let's go ahead and pre-move that. Now the idea is to come down here with the rook. Hmm. Maybe trade rooks and go into this kind of an endgame, but it's probably a draw though. Not sure if I can make progress here, unfortunately. He wants to trade more pawns. That's not good. Oh gosh, that's awful. Shoot. Dang it. Just dropped the pawn. Ugh. Oh wow, he didn't take it. Very tough position to stop from a draw from happening. Very tricky. Man, this is getting really tricky now. I don't even know what I'm going. I'm going for some sort of trick, and I don't know if it'll work. think it's a draw. I have to take the draw, honestly. Wait. Oh yeah, it's just a draw. Well, we tried to win, but I think just trading down to that rook endgame was just really ultimately a draw. But I was also kind of low on time, so I was really didn't want to spend too much time kind of playing that out and seeing like what I could possibly do in that position. But let's go ahead and analyze it and see what we could have done better. Hmm. See here, we're having a little bit of issues with the analysis here. So yeah, okay, there we go. So yeah, c4. Where is the computer analysis that we typically get? Oh, there we go. So yeah, c4. C4, knight f6, c4, g6, g3, bishop g7, all book moves. G3 system with the bishop is typical and to play against the King's Indian, so sort of like almost like a Catalan sort of setup against the King's Indian. So here I played castles, and then white played knight f3, and I played b6, castles, c5 right away. We're still in book. Knight c3, I played knight b to d7, he played d5, played rook to b8, still in book, still games in the database. He played e4, and then I played knight to e8, and this is where I went off of book. A6 was the most commonly played move in this position, and apparently white has a lot of advantage here according to the computer. But I don't know. In practical play, I don't know if white can have a lot of advantage here. Really, it's just a pretty equal position. I think black is slightly cramped, especially the knight on d7. If that could be exchanged for the knight on f3, like I did in the game, I think black's position is okay. So with that in mind, I played knight e8, preparing knight e5. Played e4, a4. He wants to stop the b4 expansions, of course. And then I went ahead and played knight to e5, and he exchanged. I think maybe he could have considered also knight d2, possibly. I think was maybe a possibility. Just gonna go ahead and change these things. There we go. So g6 is an inaccuracy here for some reason. I'm sorry, I'm rewinding back to the move where I played g6. Now the computer analysis is done. So why is that an inaccuracy? I have no idea. That's crazy. Computer said that's inaccurate. That's like one of the most played moves of all time in this position. So g3, bishop g7, bishop g2, castles, knight f3, and why is d6 an inaccuracy? I have no clue. But it's probably because he's playing the Fianchetto version and he hasn't committed to e4 just yet. So I guess that could explain some reasoning behind it. So then here, after c5, plays knight to c3, and I played knight b to d7. an inaccuracy and knight c6 was better according to the computer. I guess so. I guess, yeah, I can see why knight c6 might have been a little bit better, but after d5, I think I have to play knight b8 followed by a5, knight a6 type of stuff, but I'm not sure. I don't like the idea of him playing d5 and my knight kind of doesn't have that many good squares to go to. So I think this might have been, Anyway, he plays d5 after rook b8, plays e4, and I played knight to e8, plays a4, at e5, knight takes e5, bishop takes, and I'm really liking my position right now. I feel like, I've gotten rid of my cramped position, and, my knight on e8 could be a better place, but for the most part, I think the position is pretty comfortable for black. So he plays f4, I play bishop t4 check, king to h1, and I played a6 now, preparing the move knight, the pawn break to b5. Here he plays knight to e2, which the computer says is an inaccuracy. Queen e2 was better. After this, I put my bishop back on g7. There's rook to a3, which is again an inaccuracy according to the computer. It likes knight c3 more. It just thinks the knight was properly placed on c3. So after b5, he took, I took, and then he took again, which is again an inaccuracy. He shouldn't have taken according to the computer and played b3 instead, try to maintain that pawn structure, because now he has a weakness permanently on b2. So here, yeah, computer does look like my move knight to c7, which is what I played. Played knight c3, and taking the pawn. Takes, I took. Played queen to c2, which is again an inaccuracy, and e5 was better. So I played the computer suggests to move queen to b6. Rook a2 was played, defending the b2 pawn. And here, yeah, e6 was definitely the move I was considering for a while. But I chose bishop to d7. I didn't want to commit to e6 so soon, but maybe I should have. But I played bishop d7. Plays rook to e1, and then now bishop d4 is suggested. e6 is an idea potentially as well. In any case, I play e6. Plays e5, which is an inaccuracy. Apparently bishop f1 was a little bit better. So yeah, in this position I played, I first took that because I knew that I wanted to open up the G file for the G1 diagonal. Sorry, G2 to, H1 to A diagonal, and trade off, exchange off a pair of bishops, which would weaken the squares around the king, the white king. So that's pretty much what I did here. And then I played bishop c6 right away here, and he plays queen to g2. Took back. Took here. And he took again, and apparently that was kind of an inaccuracy as well, and rook a8 was better accordingly, apparently. So yeah, c4 is definitely suggested here. Took here. And here I took with the bishop, and that's kind of an inaccuracy. Rook takes was better. I guess I can see why, but I didn't want to exchange off any pieces, really, If he exchanged the rooks, I feel like my attack wouldn't be as strong as it is right now with the two rooks. My practical chances are better. The two rooks on the board. So I think, practically speaking, I don't know. Is bishop takes e5 that much worse? So he plays bishop to h6 now. And I played rook to b8. And he plays rook to f1, which is a blunder. Why is that a blunder? Played queen to b7 check, as the computer suggested, king here. And rook a8 was a very strong move in this position. I missed it. I could have taken on g3 with the bishop. Interesting. I didn't even think about that. Why? How? Bishop takes g3, pawn takes, and then rook h5. Wow, what an idea. Look at that sacrifice. Bishop takes g3, pawn takes, and then rook h5, opening up the diagonal, lining up the queen and the rook on the h1 square. That's an interesting, very, very interesting computer-esque sacrifice. And if I had more time on the clock, I might have seen something like this, I guess, potentially. But with such little time, 3 minutes on the clock, these are just too complicated things to calculate. I need to be calculating more forcing and imminent lines here. So yeah, I missed that. Definitely missed that idea. So I played this move instead. My idea was to try to get him to move his queen somewhere so that bishop d4 rather is a really strong threat. But turns out that he did find queen d3, and here I played the check, played here, and yeah, perhaps I should have not traded off the bishops right away, but I saw a way to win the pawn right away, so I just went for it. But I think going into that endgame, I think is just I just don't have enough. I just don't think I had enough to really win it. Traded, took here. So here I was trying for some things here, but I mean there was just not enough ways of doing anything. He played the most accurate move, I think, queen to f3 here. It's almost pretty much forcing a queen trade. I guess I could have went rook a7 followed by rook to b8. Or sorry, queen a7 with rook b8. But I just took. And I played. Well, I could have played a1 check. I guess that doesn't really matter. Rook a2 is fine. And yeah, this is a draw. Computer is already showing the evaluation with just minus 6.6 for white, and this is a hard position to win. I mean, I knew that going into this, that this would be really hard, if not impossible, to win. And after that, apparently it's even more drawish. So then, yeah, we just kind of shuffled our pieces back and forth a little bit. Took here, took here. Oh, wow, rook a5 would have been strong here with rook to h. I guess the idea must have been rook to h5 after that. Hmm. 1 minute on the clock. I mean, these are hard moves to find, I think. Wow, I'm much better here, actually. Here, rook a4. He has to play rook to h3, his only move, and then my king can walk up and pretty much eat the pawn. Didn't even think about that. Here I made a devastating mistake. I played way too fast, and I played this. Completely just giving up all of my advantage. He didn't take the pawn. I guess he didn't see it either. So then here we shuffled around for a little bit more, but I don't think there's anything to really much to win here. And then I started trying to play for a push for a win, which is when I played this, and I let his king get very active here now. So it's pretty much over at this point. Pretty much a draw. So yeah, guys. You know, I think overall it was not a bad game. Computer is showing that I'd have 8 inaccuracies, 1 mistakes, and 1 blunder. What was the 1 blunder that we played here? I think it was king to e7. Yeah. Rook a5 was best. Interesting. Yeah, I guess I can see that. And then the one mistake. What is the mistake that we played? Oh, I missed bishop takes g3. I feel like that's a pretty big tactical mistake to miss. Yeah, you can see that. But overall, I think it was an okay game. I feel like I should have been able to win the game, but you know, opponent played extremely well. He defended well and held us to a draw. So hopefully you guys learned something from this game. If you have any comments, leave them below in the comments section. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys. Take care.